Good morning and welcome back to Almus Market Mornings. We start off this week on a much more positive but confusing footing. There's a lot of optimism from the US side on the Iran deal, whether it was Trump or his Secretary of State Marco Rubio, they all seem very positive that a resolution is coming. But the Iranian side itself has commentary which says they are skeptical. Anyway, things will be clear in the coming days, but for now, markets are chugging on this optimism. Risk got a big boost. Gold and silver has shot up, possibly because yields will react positively on this. But the cascading economic effects are still playing. Today morning, India increased the price of petrol and diesel by over 2 rupees per liter. Good morning, JK. What sense are you getting from this particular commentary? And what do you think would be the theme to follow this week?
Good morning, Swaraj. I think so. Since I think late weekend, we've been hearing a lot of headlines on U.S.-Iran peace deal, and what actually I can understand somewhat more reliably is that the potential memorandum of understanding between the two countries, which includes ending war on all fronts, Washington waiving sanctions on Iran during the negotiations, and Iran's semi-official Tassim University actually said that the Hormuz Strait will also be opened over a period of next 30 days. A gradual opening, and the nuclear program discussion will get under 60 days for talks. So there is no agreement on everything possibly, and minimum is the Hormuz Strait being opened and then war being stopped and sanctions being waived. This probably is looks like a more practical, immediate solution that is being seen as a possible by the markets also, and definitely that is also being taken as a very positive development. Of course, there is a requirement that all groups in Iran. We have several groups in Iran, some militant, and they also have to be on board. And another positive news is that the Iran news agency said that the 25 vessels have navigated through the strait over the last 24 hours, and this includes even oil tankers also. So, which means there is some easing of the situation that is happening, and at the same time, we also need to find out, be aware that there is some sort of differences between US and Israel. Israel definitely wants US not to sign any agreement without a clear commitment on the nuclear capabilities of Iran, but US wants at least an interim deal. They are feeling the pressure to have some sort of a deal immediately. So this is an aspect we'll wait and see, but probably we'll have short-term relief in the markets. So that's what is reflected in the oil price as well. Yields have also reacted by coming off a bit, and oil price is definitely about 4% down. Dollar is also down. And today, of course, major markets of UK and US are closed, so the reactions are somewhat muted. But the Japanese market is also quite positive today, rising more than 3% also. So there is a positive vibe, as I said, a risk positive environment as we start, and the Indian rupee is probably right now trading near 95.40, below where it closed on Friday, and the Nifty is showing about 250 points up. Now, while we are seeing all these developments on the war, you also have to look at what is happening on the monetary policy, because we had some statements from Waller, who is a very influential member of the Fed. He said that possibly Fed should remove the easing bias from their statement, though he is not advocating a hike at this point of time. And if inflation expectations start to become anchored, he would not hesitate to support a rate hike. So, because he is an influential member, probably he also is somebody whose words actually precede, the sort of action that the Fed takes going forward. Market watches his words very closely, so that is something that for the market has to chew, because now the rate hikes or the yields Or one definitely depends on the inflation aspect. Inflation could moderate in the coming days, but also because the US economy is remaining strong. That's something that they will have to keep in mind if the situation is rather the inflation does not come down as expected. Because if we know that even before the war, the inflation had been staying well above Fed's target of 2%. So that's something that we'll have to keep track of. And then, of course, Kevin Warsh is taking over as the Fed chair, and it remains unclear whether he will resist or support a potential shift towards a tighter policy. But very interestingly, we had one big change from Trump that I've been watching off late. He says, Warsh will restore confidence in the Federal Reserve and make its own decisions. Wants to stop inflation, and also economic growth does not mean inflation. So there is some sort of a hint that he is not like saying about we need rate cuts, the Fed has to cut rates, that kind of statement which he used to make when Powell was in charge. That is not being seen now. So that's a big change. So constantly, as usual, we watch Fed's words and actions much closely than any other central bank. Although on Friday, we also had the BOJ chief meeting with the Prime Minister, where there was a broad alignment with the central bank's current policy stance. And of course, he avoided any commitment on the June rate hike. So that is the thing. In Bank of Japan, slowly it builds up for a rate hike and then suddenly fizzles out as well. So that's the reason why yen is not reacting. Some people feel even if there is a rate hike in Japan in June, the yen may not react positively to that extent. So this is something peculiar to Japan. So that will keep track as we go into the month of June. As I said, markets have reacted quite positively. Oil falling, and stocks also reacting positively. What we've seen in the past few days is also that yen was unable to cross the 159 mark, and euro did not really break the 1.16. Those levels are getting held, but broadly we are in a range as far as the major markets or major currencies are concerned. On the Indian market, we had in the morning we had a news about fourth hike in the petrol prices by about 2 rupees 61 paisa, and the total hike now comes to around 7 rupee 50 paisa. Increases are happening in piecemeal fashion. We all know that global crude oil price and Indian basket has shot up substantially, more than 30-40%, and whatever price hikes we are seeing in the retail price of petrol is still much less. So we could expect some more. I think there's a strategy the government is following not to hike all at once. Perhaps they're also waiting for whether the situation eases and the global crude oil prices come down, so that they may not have to hike too much immediately. So that's the reason that I can see that they're going in a gradual manner as far as retail price hike is concerned. On the rupee, we had second successive day of RBI intervention, brought it down closer to 95.50, which is a good support. With today's news and oil, if it sustains below 100 as far as the Brent is concerned, we could see some more positive reaction in the rupee. We might even see further intervention from RBI if it gets above 95.80. And we all know that even as it came down from 96.90 till here, more action has been seen from importers and not much action has been seen from exporters. Market is once again getting quite skewed on the long side. So with positive news and perhaps more action from RBI, we will not rule out further strength in the INR, perhaps breaking 95 as well in today's trading, and ultimately going towards 94. I won't rule it out, because technically it does look like we are due for a decent amount of correction in the INR. Thank you.
Thank you, JK. And yes, we start off the week with a good amount of positive risk sentiment. We are seeing sort of dollar weekend yields sort of coming down. Oil prices are down. and that's of course helping all markets. Even in India, the positive momentum globally is being used by the central bank to sort of prop up the rupee. We saw that on Friday. Likely even today, we are going to see a similar kind of move. So let's see how all of this plays out and how the negotiations go. We'll keep you updated. That's it from us today. Thanks for listening. We will catch up tomorrow with the fresh round of updates.